Hello and welcome to our video tutorial covering QA checks at job transfers in ONTRAM. Quality assurance checks in ONTRAM serve to monitor the quality of a text before a user transfers it to the next relevant workflow role. Depending on the settings, text segments that are recognized as erroneous by ONTRAM's QA check functionality can prevent a transfer completely if they were previously set as an error or merely trigger a warning. There are various QA checks available in ONTRAM that can be configured by a project manager or system administrator. Text overruns highlights all elements that exceed the maximum length as previously configured. The without target language entry QA check identifies all segments that do not contain any translation in the target language field and the empty entry was not activated. The target language equals source language check compares the source language segment with the target language segment. If both segments have the same content, they are displayed by ONTRAM's QA functionality. Non-reviewed change requests will be highlighted if performed change requests were not addressed. The missing placeholders QA check checks whether the target language segment also contain the placeholders of the source language segment and if those placeholders appear in the same sequence. Structural errors are highlighted if placeholders are nested incorrectly in the target language segment. The nested superscripts and subscripts QA check looks for nested superscripts and subscripts in the text, meaning words that are marked both as superscripts and subscripts such that they are displayed incorrectly. If nested superscripts and subscripts occur in the text, they are marked by the QA check. The unaccepted author's corrections check will highlight all segments where author's corrections have not been adopted by the user. This video tutorial will cover a situation where a translator has just finished his translation task and wants to hand over the job to the next workflow participant. While handing over, ONTRAM's QA check functionality will provide the translator with several errors and warnings. Finally, the translator interacts with the QA report, fixes the segments, and hands over the task. Peter Summers, a translator, has just finished his translations in the system and now wants to hand over the job to the next workflow participant. To hand over the job, he selects Task on the overview page, Transfer to Proofreading, and finally hits Perform Task. He could optionally attach a comment. After hitting Perform Task, ONTRAM provides Peter with a QA report. While there are no structural errors or missing placeholders, Peter notices that there are still segments without translations and segments where the target language equals the source language. While Peter could hand over the task ignoring all QA checks that were set as a warning, Peter must address all errors as they will prevent the transfer. To address the errors, Peter can make use of the Switch to Editing Page button. Using the button will directly filter for all segments without translations. ONTRAM will also display an additional column showing the QA check that caused the error or warning. After Peter adds all missing translations, he now makes use of ONTRAM's filter functionalities. A user in ONTRAM always has the possibility to filter for all QA checks that were predefined. In our special case, Peter could filter for segments without translations, missing placeholders, structural errors, or segments where the target language equals the source language. Peter now filters for all QA checks as he wants to address all errors or warnings from the QA report. As you can see, the filter only shows segments where the source language equals the target language, as Peter already added the missing translations. While reviewing the segments, Peter notices that the still remaining warnings are uncritical due to the reason that the segments are addresses, names, and numbers that equal in English and German. Peter now switches back to the job overview page to hand over the job. He again selects Transfer to Proofreading and hits Perform Task. He finally confirms task and hands over. We hope you enjoyed watching ONTRAM's QA checks at job transfers video tutorial. Thanks for your time and attention. Whenever you have any question, please don't hesitate to contact us via live chat or by email at support@ontram.com.